Good morning, guys. Even though I said good morning, but actually I made this video in night after my kids sleeping. So now, today we need to talk about Unit 3, Lesson 2, Square Rules and Cube Rules. So I believe you already know what is square rule and cubic rules because you should know we talked this topic about in Algebra 1, but because the Learn Zero also asked me to talk this topic. So today we need to learn what is square rules and cubic rules. Before we talk about this topic, now I'll give you an example. So right now on the board we have a square here, and also I have, based on this picture, you should know this square, the side length, it should be 3 plus 2 is 5, right? But right now my question is, what is the area of ABCD? So I'm looking for the area ABCD. The ABCD you should know also is a square. So how we can find out the square of how to find out the area of a square? We need to know the side length, right? So the square area it should be the side length square. So now we need to know what is the side length here. So we know the square, this is a right triangle, that is a 90 degree. So if this is a right triangle, also the side, this side is 2, this is 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, that means all these 4 right triangle, they're similar, right? No, sorry, this tonight is my brain is brain right now. So this is congruent there are 4 congruent right triangle here. So you need to find out this side, we call this side is hypotenuse. That means we need to use the Pythagorean theorem to find out the side length of this square ABCD. Well, how to find out for example, is that this is A. So based on the Pythagorean theorem, we have 2 square plus 3 square is A square, right? So that means this is 4, this is 9, this is A square. That means A square is 13. You know A square is 13, so what is A? What is the side length of the square ABCD? You have to square root both sides, as you know. So after you square root both sides, you get A is radical 13, right? So if A is radical 13, so what is the area of ABCD? So that means the area of ABCD is just A square. That means is square root 13 square, it should be 13, right? So that means the area of this square is 13. Okay, so today's topic is about square and square root and cube root. So that means you have to know what is square root means, and what is cube root mean. That's the topic of today. So right now I also, for another words, you see this is normally if you square root both sides, it should be get a positive or negative numbers, or there are 2 solutions for the square. But because this is a real problem, like a square, a side length, we don't have any negative side length. That's why we just only have 1 answer for square root 13. So now if you have to understand well about the square root, so I give you a table here. So now I give you some question. Example here. If the area of the square is 9, so how we can find out the side length? Obviously, you just need to square root 9 to find out the side length, right? That means if square root 9, you got 3. So the length is 3, why the side length is 3, and then the area of the square is 9. How about if I said the side length is 4? What is area? Then you have to square the side length to get the area, right? So 4 squared should be 16. So now if I said 23 is the area, how we can find out the side length? You just need to square root the area to get the side length. That means is radical 23. Usually leave is radical 23, or you can use the calculator to find out the number here. So if I said the side length is 6.4, what is the area? The area should be 6.4 squared. Okay, maybe it should be equal 40 point something. So I don't have the calculator, so I just, you can leave is 4 point. You can use the calculator to find out the final number, because you know it's 4.4 squared. You get the area. So if I said the side length is, the area is 89. So what is the side length? The side length should be square root 89. Okay, that's simple, right? So now we need to understand what is square means. So now I want to erase here to explain what is square root means. So if I give you a question like, how about square root 7? What that means? So this number square root 7, you can say that. Let me check. Okay, so square root 7. The numbers square root 7 means if after you the number, after you square the square root 7 to get 7. So that means square root is the number that after you square to get 7. That is the square root number means. So every time when you see the square root, I mean, you have in your brain, you should know all that is about in the square. You have a square on your brain, and you know a square is the side length times side length is the area. If I have a square root, I mean you only need to know it after you square this square root number, you get a whole number inside the square root. That's it. That is the square root number means. So now easy, right? So that I only need to explain the square root. So now, because the topic also about the cube root, so now next topic we need to find out what is cube root means. So now here we have a cubic here. So if I said the cubic side length is 4, so what is the volume of this cubic? So you should know the cubic volume formula is the side length A, and then to the third power, right? Cube. So now if I said A is 4, that means the volume of this cube is 4 to the cube, the third power, it should be 64. Okay? So now the same thing, right? If I know this, how about I just know the volume? If I erase this here, if I said the volume of this cubic, the volume of this cubic is 64, right? So now I want to know what is the side length. If I set up the side length A, that means based on the formula, I should know A cube is 64, right? You have, after you know the volume 64, you set up the side length A, you should have an equation like this. A to the third power is 64. So how to get the A, the side length? You just need to cube root both sides to get the side length. So you have to cube root sides to get A. After you get A, then A is cubic root 64 is 4, okay? You do need to know how to get 4. You just need to know, use the calculator, okay? So now, after you get this, so every time when you see the cube root, in your brain should have a cubic. So I mean, this is sine length. So after you cube both sides, you get the volume of the cube. Okay, that's the cubic root. So now I give you some like a question. If I said, if the cube sine length is A, is also I can give you a table like this. Okay, how do I do a table? If I have a table the same as the top, right? If I have, this is the volume, okay? And this is the side length. And also you said the side length is 3, okay? If I said the volume is 81, okay? If I said side length is 5, and the volume, this is 100. Okay, give you one more. If this is 7, okay. So now how we can find out the missing chart here? So now if I said the side length is 3, so what is the volume of the cube? It should be 3 to the third power. So meaning what is 3 to the third power? So it is 27, right? So now you can use a calculator or what, if you can understand it, just 27 here. So now if the volume is 81, how we can get the sine length A? If that means you have to set up like equation like this one. If A cube is 81, right? After you cube, you get 81. How to get the A, the sine length A should be cube root both sides, right? You get A, cubic root both sides, you get cube 81, cubic root and cube, you get A on the left. And what is cubic root 81? You can use the calculator, or you can the only thing you can do, you can use like this one. So cubic root, you can 3 times 3 times 3, it should be 27. 27 times 3 is 81, and also this is cubic root 3 to the cube and times 3, and also you can get rid of the 3 outside the cube root, and then inside is like this. But this one maybe is more complicated. Only thing you can do is use the calculator, or you just like write down like this way. It's fine to me, okay? Or you can use calculator to find, give me a decimal number here. So also if the sine is 5, so what is the volume? That means 5 to the power third, that means 125, right? So same theory, if the volume is 100, so then it's cube root 100. So I don't know what that number is, but you can use the calculator. So 7, what's 7? 7 to the third power, it should be 49 times 7. Okay, 343. Okay, so that is how we can find out the cube volume on the sine length. Okay, so that's all about today's topic. So you just need to understand what is square root, what is cube root. So every time you don't understand, just use the example like a square. If a square root and square, you just need to use a square here. So how we can find the square? So if a square root, I mean you find out the side length of the area of the square. If you want to cube rule, that means use a cubic to explain, to refresh your memory, to think about what is cube rule. I believe you guys should know what that is, so that I just use this like a simple question, a simple example, so explain. Okay, now at the last this class, I give you like some activity. We always be cool down, right? So I'll give you an example. Now I want to erase, or I can write down on this side. So if I said, as I give you, well, what is square root 13 means? So now what square root 13 means? Okay. So you can answer this kind of question is square root 13 is a number. Okay, is a number that you square to get 13. Okay, that is the answer. Like, what is square root 13 mean? Because sometimes maybe somebody will ask me, what that means, square number. That means square root 13 is a number that you square to get 13. That is the meaning, okay? So if I say, what is if I change, what is cube root 100 means? How to answer this question? A cube root 100 is a number that you cube to get 100. That is the meaning about cube root 100. Okay. So now today's lesson is almost done. So I will post the homework on the Google Classroom later. So have a good day.